There is something happening to us that isn't quite noticeable with the naked eye. Most of us who do notice it wish we had the willpower to ignore it. A problem that would slander you with all kinds of isms at a simple mentioning of its presence. As men and women, we don't live in the same dynamic we used to, which in my opinion has its pros and cons. So let's take a moment and unwrap this tantalizing yet uncomfortable present and try to discover why men and women are butting heads so much in the modern era, and maybe, just maybe, we can start to turn things around. Now before I continue, I have to say something really cliche that a lot of YouTubers do that I really don't want to. But if I don't, then this video will more than likely be taken out of context, and the last thing I want to do is to be misinterpreted. Now I actually do believe this. I'm just a little upset that I actually have to say it. I support the equal rights of everyone. I truly believe that the world won't and will not be balanced if we don't balance how we treat everyone on it. The manner in which we treat the less fortunate is a direct representation of our charisma and empathy, or a lack thereof. That being said, let's jump right into it. There is a growing imbalance in the duality of the sexes today. You'd have to be blind not to see it. The traditional roles of men and women are being altered through social engineering and political polarization. Women, as I have said in a previous video, are deservedly heading into the forefront of education and business, accomplishing things that women only 100 years ago would have never dreamed possible. It is very important and wise to give everyone the same choices and opportunities in a free world, otherwise there will be a constant growing resentment for those who achieve and those who attain, which is an important lesson to remember. But as one thing rises, something else must fall. There is a very loud and blatant message that men should step aside and let the women have their shot at running the show. After all, men have had the control of the world since the dawn of civilization. But letting one gender take the throne while discarding the other will only bring the pendulum of inequality full circle. It is in man's nature to provide protection and security for his partner. But with that option dwindling either by social engineered choice or circumstance, a man's role has become all but completely undefined. Men are now searching for purpose while trying to please their surroundings, but to no avail. With no direction, men have retreated into video games, pursuit of the perfect male form, and when brought to the most hopeless of circumstances, substance abuse, which I myself lived in the shadow of. Now don't get me wrong, I promote a strong, healthy body, but when one focuses on the body, the finances, and personal image, but neglects the mind, then we end up with what comedian George Carlin referred to as a society full of really strong, really dumb men. As women become more financially and mentally confident, they have started to change their standards for a partner. As they become more free of the financial burden of being unemployed and needing the financial security of a man, they start to focus on more physical attributes, which explains the sudden impulse of a very large percentage of men at the gym in the past 20 years or so. Gym memberships have skyrocketed, and it's easy to see why. As I'm sure a small percent of the motivation to go to the gym is to look and feel great, but as men, we are very basic in our needs and are really in pursuit of one thing in the end: to attain a partner. So men are now focused more on their bodies and accumulating as much wealth as they possibly can. As men begin to drop lower on the educational totem pole, they attain less prestigious positions in the work field and have less respect, which was a huge confidence booster for men. Now, of course, I'm not saying that we should kick women out of the workplace so men can get back on top. But why do we have to hoist one up by burying the other? If we truly want an advanced and enlightened society, then we need an equal contribution of both men and women, not more of one or the other. After all, that was the problem to begin with, right? It can be difficult to identify the missing pieces of the structural integrity of our society's puzzle. But when we are ridiculed for simply looking for it, it makes it that much more difficult. Women for many hundreds of years were mentally and in a lot of cases physically abused into tending to the children and homestead. They were looked at and referred to as maids and the mothers of our world, whether they wanted to be or not. Thankfully, after many, many difficult years of pain and endless fighting, women have the rights they justly deserve. But when one attains their voice, should it be used to slander? As men once did to women, women now do to men. Men are ridiculed, mocked, discouraged, seen as buffoons, and told on a constant basis that they are inherently misogynistic.
What are you eating?
Multigrain Cheerios.
So, trying to watch your weight?
No, why?
Nothing, it's just the box. It says it's low in fat.
Do I look like I need to watch my weight?
No. It just says it has 110 calories per serving.
Yeah, but there are other reasons why I like it.
I know. It's the box. It just says it's made with 5 whole grains. That's good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. What else does the box say?
Box says shut up, Steve.
Is this what happens when you get caught driving without car insurance? No, but considering the fines and penalties, it sure feels that way.
Let's go! You get wrong. Come on. Reach for your dream, bro. Reach for the stars.
Hi, we'd like 2 fudge brownie temptations.
Mom, just make it one.
I'm surprised you wanted to share.
Actually, I don't.
Pardon me, ladies. This is compliments of the gentleman in the donkey shirt.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
This again is taking what women have fought so hard to achieve and planting that same seed of resentment right back into men. If we want to stop this continuous cycle of animosity, then we have to learn to forgive and leave things in the past where they belong. Otherwise, our society will go through moments in history where women are mistreated en masse, then men, then women, then men, and so on, and so on. To put it quite blatantly, men can't be mothers and women can't be fathers. Although they can try to fulfill those roles as best they can, men seldom have the warm, compassionate, intuitive embrace of a mother, and a woman can seldom express a lesson of strict discipline and responsibility like a father. And there is a malevolent undertone of androgyny being advocated through social engineering. But the fact of the matter is, men and women both choose completely different roles, hobbies, career, and duties when given complete freedom of choice.
There's been studies of human personality conducted all across the world, then have looked for differences between men and women across countries. And the crucial test was the Scandinavian countries, because the Scandinavians have done a lot to flatten out the sociological landscape for men and women.
Right.
The consequence of that has actually been that the differences between men and women in Scandinavia have got larger, not only in terms of personality, but also in terms of interest. And interest is, men tend to be interested in things and women tend to be interested in people. And there's some decent evidence that thing interest is mediated by testosterone exposure in utero, which sounds pretty biological.
Right.
Considered it.
We are not the same, and trust me, this is a good thing. Men and women's biology, both physical and mental, are made to complement and help each other. When we go against that biological signature, then we go against nature. And nature doesn't play by our fast and loose, lackluster rules. Nature will have no qualms with making an example out of our poor decisions. No gender or individual person is perfect. While women can create psychological errors and temptations, men are more likely to create physical destruction and self-harm. Abraham Lincoln said, quote, "A house divided against itself cannot stand," end quote. But what about an entire world divided against itself? On the grand scale of the universe, we are all we have. Imagine getting an apartment with just one roommate. and the apartment lease is infinite. Would you not at least try to be kind and understanding to your roommate, being that you will be living together forever? Some of the happiest people I know are in a well-balanced and fair relationship. If we can learn to trust each other and put a stop to the ridicule from both sides, then we can move past the age of indifference and focus on present goals that require the attention of us all. But if we continue on this path of accusations and belittling, then whether or not some of us have made peace and compromise with each other, we will watch the world we built together crumble right beneath our own 2 feet.